Today I'm going to show you just how you remove your entire thread take-up system and your tension assembly from your Singer Featherweight. So today what we're going to do is we're going to loosen a set screw up in the counterbalance that is actually what holds this part of the thread take-up in. This little arm here that wiggles, if you remember when we took out the needle bar and then the needle bar clamp, it has a little post that slides in this hole. We pulled that out and put it with the needle bar. So we have two screws we have to loosen to get the whole system out. This one here, this big one, but then also on the counterbalance, there is a set screw. And now the location of the screw is important because the counterbalance has a wider part. Do you see this part here? It's wide. It sort of looks like a piece of a pie almost on the end. And if we spin this around, the narrower end is here. And that is where we're going to find a set screw on that side, which is what holds this little linkage in. So the way that you get to that set screw, which I want to get loose first, is actually on the back of the machine. There's a hole back here. I'm going to lay the machine down with the back side facing up because I feel like that's the easiest way to get the leverage you need to loosen this screw through this hole. So I have the machine laying down and the motor is the side that's pointing up. This is the hole that I'm talking about. And if you look right now, you can see the head of the screw that I want to take out. And you see my screwdriver there? Right behind that is the screw. Please pay attention. This screw is on the narrow part of the counterbalance. There is a bigger screw that goes on the wider part. Don't take that out. That screw actually is what is used to keep your counterbalance attached to the shaft inside. So it's a set screw and you really don't want to take that out. So it helps to get the screw to the position where you can see it and you can access it at a straight angle down. And then what I do is I sort of slide my hands in and grab the counterbalance and hold it still because I want to put some downward pressure on this screw while I try to turn it. And this, if it's tight and you can't get it to turn, lay the machine like this and spray oil in this hole right onto the head of that set screw. So I just have to turn it out. There it goes. And there it is. My fingers almost got stuck inside the nose. So here is the set screw that we are removing in order to take out the thread take-up system. One of them. We still have one more, and we need to flip the machine back up right now. So I'm just going to set this aside. Now we need to loosen this screw. And both of them are left to loosen. I'm going to turn it this way just a little bit so my hand doesn't get right in front of the camera. So I have it turned so I can get my hand in here and not block your view too much. And there we go. You see that? It freed up pretty easy. And that is probably because I have put a lot of penetrating oil on the inside of this machine. This whole linkage isn't going to just fall when I take this screw out because there are little posts that are driven into the counterbalance in the body of the machine. But when you pull it off, what you're going to notice is you have this hinge screw. So the linkage is fitting on the hinge part of the screw. And behind the linkage is a washer. So this little washer goes behind this linkage that we are seeing right here, behind this and up against the body of the machine. It's just kind of sandwiched in between, and it could be stuck. So check for it if you don't see it or if it just doesn't fall out. So now what we have is the hinge screw and the washer and the other set screw that we took out of the counterbalance. Let's set those aside. Now the tricky part is wiggling out this linkage system. Where you want to pull is right here on this little arm that's hanging down. But you have a lot of moving parts that are going to get in your way. And I find the best position to pull it out is sort of like this. Then I can sort of grab and wiggle, and I'm just trying to get it right past this bushing, and this little arm makes it a little difficult, but you can. See, just turn your hand wheel a little bit. That's why we've left this on so far, by the way, because it's just so handy to have it when we're trying to get all these spinning parts of the nose out. So here is your thread take up, and this little linkage here is what our needle bar clamp slides into, and it comes right off this little post right here. So all of these pieces I will set aside and clean. And I clean all my parts at once, not as I take them off. I get them all off, and then I have a day where I just clean parts. So we can go ahead and take off the tension assembly now. And I want to point out a set screw for you. So this tension assembly in this hole is a set screw. And that is one way that you can take the tension assembly off very quickly. I'm going to take it off a different way for you, just so you can see all the parts, and you really need to disassemble it anyway to check the tension discs, make sure they're not gunked up and there's not a bunch of lint and thread in there, or that they haven't rusted or something. So we will take the set screw out, but first we're going to remove parts off of the tension itself. So here we're looking at the tension, and this part of the dial is the first thing that will come off. If you push on the numbered part, you see it should push back. If you can push it back and then turn this counterclockwise, it should just spin off. And this is a little thumb nut for your tension assembly. Then you can pull the number dial off, and then you'll have this little fingered washer that should come off, a beehive spring that comes off, and then this part that has the plus and minus, it should come off. And then finally, all together, you should be able to pull the spring, the two tension discs. You should have two on your featherweight, and this part here. And I'll give you all the names of them when we put them back together. Right now, just make sure that you have them. So the last part of the tension to remove is this stud that has the little pin inside. Now is when I'll get in this hole and loosen up this set screw. So I actually decided to set the machine like this. Here is the hole where I'm trying to loosen the set screw for this tension stud. So I want to have it up like this because if the screw is stuck a little bit, which I have a feeling this one is, I want to be able to put some downward pressure to make sure that I grab the head of the screw. And I'm just going to give it a little, if I can hit the hole. I just want to get my screwdriver into that slot and turn. And there, I heard it, it loosened up. This screwdriver barely fits, and I had another one that fit a little bit better down into this hole, but I couldn't get the torque I needed to turn the set screw free. So here we go. These set screws can look different from machine to machine. At least for me, I feel like I could be mixing up a 301 with a featherweight, to be honest. But some are long and some are short. So here is this little tiny set screw that holds in this stud. And this, you should be able to just pull out. If not, lay it down on its back and spray some oil in there and see if you can get it free, or spray it on the back side. Lay it either way and just get the oil to go down into the hole. So here, inside this stud is this little tension pin. And remember, we took out the tension pin releasing lever. This is a stud it's hitting when we raise our presser foot up with this little lever here. So now we have all the tension out. Don't forget the little tiny set screw. Put it all together. Set screw. Can you see that? Set screw. Tension stud. Your little tension pin. You should have 2 of your tension discs. 1 spring. And I always like to check these out. Sometimes they have a loop right here. This front loop wraps all the way around. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes that's why they don't work. I always check to see if I have this little finger that's going down in here inside. Make sure that that's still there. But we'll clean this up and see how it works. This part with the big finger, and I'll give you all the names. You should have the plus, minus, and your number dial, the beehive spring, and this little washer here with the finger, and this thumb nut with this funny little pin sticking out of the backside. And that's it. You took off the tension. I almost forgot one part of your tension that you need to remove. This part right here. It's called your slack thread and tension guide. There's just a little screw right here that you remove, and it actually comes off, which makes it a lot easier to clean and polish the body. So this screw is pretty destroyed on mine, but thankfully I could still get it off. And all you need to do is just remember to add this slack thread and tension guide and screw in with the rest of your tension assembly parts. There we go. I feel better now. So I think next we can remove the needle plate, the feed dogs, and the hook. So good job. Didn't take too long, and I'm looking forward to taking these parts off next time we come back. Bye.